propagating everything you say should be live.
We should go back to that trash pile that Dad and I were at.
Everything you say is live, guys.
Oh, hello.
It
The
has
internet
been
can
live for
totally
15
see you
minutes.
now. Except we can't see ourselves on here, but okay.
We were dumpster diving today. All right, guys. I am Tara, the author of the Dining on a Dime cookbook where you can eat better, spend less right now. Yes, you can. If you are stuck at home and you need to learn how to cook, this is the book, the only book you need.
Maybe you should clarify your previous comment.
You think? We'll talk about it in a little bit. Also, Ellie has goat milk cream and goat milk soap 15% off. Here's the catcher though. Because of the situation that we're in at the moment, she cannot get the ingredients for her goat milk cream. So, if you want some, you better grab it because she's probably not going to have it in stock for very much longer. And her goat milk soap, use coupon SPRING15 for 15% off.
Does it say that on that page too?
It says it on its page, goatmilkgifts.com. Was that right? So, should probably sell out this week. All right, guys. Today we are talking about easy ways to save money in 2020 during a crisis. 10 ways to save money during your crisis, I guess I should say. 10 ways to save. So, we are...
What? It's Frankie's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
She says celebrating my 30th birthday quarantine style.
Woo! All right, so we were sitting at the kitchen table this morning, Jack and I, and Mike was over here making, was it breakfast? I don't remember what meal it was. Anyway, I was sitting at the kitchen table and I said, well, maybe I'll do 10 ways to save money during a crisis. And I said, okay, I got to come up with 10 ways. And Jack said, if you don't need it, don't buy it.
So that's number one.
He didn't even hesitate. He did not even hesitate. That's my boy.
Ellen says I'm saving money because the grocery stores are out of what I need.
I know. So here's the thing. This is tip number 1. Seriously, if you don't need it, don't buy it. Especially if you have been laid off and you're not sure how your finances are going to be doing during this time. What does that mean? That means if it is not an absolute necessity, you need to not buy it at all. Okay? So, number 1, if you don't need it, don't buy it. Number 2, stop eating out. Now, I know this is going to be really controversial, but here's the thing. Mom saw an article that said there was a couple of restaurants where she is that they laid off. Dave, can you bring me 2 cough drops, please? That they laid off their workers and had to call them. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. And that they had to call them back in because they had so many people ordering takeout, thank you, that they had to rehire everybody. Guys, this is crazy. Now, I know I'm going to get all these people who say, oh, we're supporting small business, blah, blah, blah. I'm a small business. My daughter's a small business. My son is a small business. We get the small business thing. But you know what? If you do not have the money, especially if you're laid off, on furlough, whatever, you cannot be spending money eating out, period. You don't have the money. So stop. The next part 2 of this eating out thing is go through and add up, go through your credit card statement and add up how much money you spent in February before all this happened on food outside of your house, like takeout. And you need to have a rude awakening to how much you are actually spending eating out, Okay? So make sure that you are not eating out. Number 3. Did you get it? Number 3.
Still
Learn to cook. Okay, now, this isn't the time to be learning how to cook homemade bread if you've never made bread before. This isn't the time to be learning how to cook filet mignon. This is the time to be learning how to cook rice and popcorn, chicken, those kinds of basic staple foods. Dining on a Dime cookbook. We have all those basics in here because you need to know how to make these things. All these recipes, if you can't afford our cookbook, all these recipes are on our website. Go do a search at livingonadime.com. We have tons and tons and tons of super easy recipes. And here's the thing, if you're watching this in a few weeks, our cookbook is selling like hotcakes right now. And I mean, it's really selling like hotcakes. To the point that I calculated yesterday, and if we did not have a Mother's Day sale, we would run out by the 1st of July. If we do have our Mother's Day sale, which we're thinking about doing, we will probably run out by May 1st. So if you're thinking about getting a cookbook, don't hesitate. You know, I mean, in the next week or two, a couple of weeks, we should have enough. But because everything that's happening, we don't know how long it's going to take for them to get us the next shipment of books. In the meantime, go to livingonadime.com, search our recipes, and find easy recipes that you can make at home. Did we have success?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh. Number 4, use up the things that you already have. Now, what do I mean? I mean, don't just go to the grocery store just to be buying groceries. Actually figure out what you have on hand and see if you can get by with what you already have on hand. I wanted to read this customer testimonial to you because this is exactly what we're talking about. Dear Tara, that's me. I'm Tara. Yes.
You are? Oh, nice.
And it's not T-A-R-A. This note is to thank you for your Living on a Dime program. I learned how to grocery shop and how to consume my groceries from you and your mother. I've been isolated since March 12th when I heard our governor was going to initiate a stay-at-home order. My first inclination was to run out and grocery shop, but I resisted the urge and instead inventoried every single item of food in my house. Then I wrote out 21 days of meal plans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had sufficient food already here, so I did not go out. Then I heard our stay-at-home order could be extended. Again, my first inclination was to run out and restock groceries, but I resisted and re-inventoried my food stock and wrote out 30-day meal plans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Again, I found I still have sufficient food here, so I did not go out. Because I will run out of bottled water by tomorrow, I placed a grocery order last week at a place that will bring your items out to your vehicle. After I placed the order, I decided to look at the food left in my inventory and decided that I had enough food left to last yet another 25 to 30 days. I will not be eating fun meals nor fancy meals or even things I want to eat, but what I have here is food and I will eat it before I go out. I canceled the order. What I learned from you is to eat what I have and do without when I don't have it. Your cookbook and videos will help me make informed substitutions. I am unsure about the quality of my well water. It needs to be retested. But in the meantime, I will boil it and use a Brita filter pitcher. I have made several batches of frozen milk ice cubes, like you mentioned, and if my overaged yeast will proof, I can make bread if needed. My eggs are already overaged. I may need to scramble some and freeze them. I've done that in the past. or I need to quickly find uses for them. I ration everything I have and eat only exact portions. I learned from your mother, and by doing so, I have lost 8 pounds since March 12th.
Wow.
On March
I need
12th,
to try your plan.
I know, me too. On March 12th, I would have never believed that I had 3 months worth of edible food in my house. It almost makes me ashamed. But actually, having gone through this experience, I now know what to buy to adequately stockpile for any future emergencies. I never expected a scenario such as we are experiencing, nor one to last as long as this. But then that is exactly why having a well-stocked pantry of staple items is so important. Well wishes to you and your family. I'll just do her initials, DP. That is exactly what we're talking about. Figure out what you have at home that you can use up and use it, whether it be food or lotion. Maybe you need lotion and your favorite lotion has run out, but you've got some hotel samples, or you've got some leftover lotion from other things, or you have baby lotion left over from your kids. You can get by with using that lotion. Craft supplies. Oh my word, the craft supplies that people have are absolutely crazy. Go through the craft supplies that you have and use those before you go buy anything else, if you can find a craft store that's open, or Walmart or whatever. I mean, seriously guys, it's not worth arguing with standing in line and them only allowing 10 people or whatever at a time in the store for some of this stuff. Just stay home and make do with the things that you already have. Number 5, turn down your heat if it's still cold, or turn up your air conditioner if it's turning warm where you're at. You don't need your air conditioner set at 65 degrees in the summer. You don't need your heater set at 75 or 80 degrees in the winter. Put on a sweater if you're cold, or take off and wear a t-shirt if you're hot. But turn your AC and your heat either up or down. Turn on a fan, put on a sweater, you need to do. But you can get those utility bills way down. All right, number 6. So let me take a pause here. Any questions while we're waiting?
No, just comments mostly. People talking about stocking up, or Nikki, your cookbook and blog helped me get back to living back to the basics 12 years ago.
Wow.
Still our number one go-to, especially as I taught my girls to cook and live on a dime.
Woo!
Yes!
You go, Nikki. Yay! All right.
Isn't it fun when they actually demonstrate that they listened? We're starting to see a little glimmer of hope in some of those areas. Okay, maybe it's bigger than a little glimmer. But...
A little glimmer. All right, number 6. Number 6 and 7, number 6, 7, and actually our bonus number 11 kind of all go together. But number 6, cut the subscription things that you have, like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. You don't need 15 different choices to watch movies. Pick one, and if you're really that strapped for cash, cut them all. You don't need any of the subscription things. That includes cable. You don't need cable to survive. Now, I know everybody's home with nothing to do, but watch YouTube videos. Watch YouTube videos on something that you want to learn how to do. But you don't need to be watching all of these subscription places, you know. I know some of you love Downton Abbey and all those things. You don't need to be watching all of those if you can't afford it.
Well, if you have to pay extra for each one.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that have Netflix and like 8 other things like it. Just pick 1 or 2.
Yeah. Yeah, so you need to cut all those.
Because it's not like you can't cancel it and sign up for it again later. You can cancel one and then sign up for the other one.
Yeah. Number 7, cancel your subscriptions. Now, I was horrified the other day, in my I'm never shopping at Walmart moment again, I went to go look for Mike socks on Amazon, and I was horrified to see that they have subscription socks and underwear for men. Every 3 months you can get a delivery of socks and underwear. What is up with that? You've got to be kidding me. Why do men need new underwear every 3 months or new socks every 3 months? Maybe if you're in construction and you just are on your feet all day long, maybe your shoes rub and wear your socks out. Okay, I could maybe see that. But what is it with men in socks and underwear? Do you know?
What about the socks and underwear?
They have a subscription.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I have to get Mike new ones like once a year or once every 18 months, but every 3 months? Are you kidding me? I just did not get that. So the same is true. Cancel your subscriptions for underwear, socks, razors. If you have a stockpile for your supplements and you're on auto subscribe, you can cancel those if you don't need extras. Go ahead and get those all done.
Sabrina's glad to see your laptop is back.
Oh, thank you. Alice says, my book was my companion this week. I read it like a novel. Brilliantly done. Yes.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you, Alice. And I did get your email. Thank you very much. All right. Number 8. Home improvement projects. Now, I know you're home and you don't have anything to do, but I'm on marketing lists for our business. You can go ahead and open the door.
I'm not gonna say
I told you.
I'm just joking.
I'm on marketing email lists for our business, and I will tell you, I was shocked. Once again, it's amazing. I haven't had a complete and total heart attack with all of the shocks that I've had lately, but I was shocked when I saw that home improvement Pinterest pins searches, home improvement Pinterest pin searches were up some crazy amount. It was like 20% or something. I can't remember the exact number, but it was up a significant amount. And the search term was something like patio makeovers. Now, I totally understand that some people are just looking just to daydream, and I get that. But I also know a lot of those people are not just looking to daydream, because I see all of my neighbors with bags of wood chips and bags of rock and new hot tubs and all this kind of stuff. Guys, you can't be spending money on this kind of stuff if you're laid off and don't have a job. You need to be spending it on the basics. Food, paying your rent. And I'll tell you, yeah, okay, I'll just skip that for the moment. I'm sure I'll get back to it. But anyway, stop spending money on home improvement projects that aren't necessary right now. Number 9, cut the car insurance. Now I know people are going to be, gasp! Did you hear the gasp?
Yep.
You heard it?
I heard it.
Here's the thing. If you're laid off and you're at home and you're not going anywhere and you have more than one vehicle, cut the car insurance. We have 4 drivers, but really we only need 1 vehicle. So now that Mike's not going to the library, Jack's not going to school, we can cut the car insurance.
It just occurred to us today.
On all the cars
that we're not driving.
That we're not driving.
We did, like when we were out of the country last year, we took them all off.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime a long period of time goes by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to
save. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt your credit or anything. Just take the car off.
And if you have one that's got a full coverage, I think our insurance company said that there's a like vacation or parking version that they can do where it'll still cover it if it gets like
hail damage
or
yeah.
somebody vandalizes it or something, but it's not the full price because you're telling them you're not driving it.
Yeah. Denise says I need to say, get it together, people. Actually, I'm going to in just a minute because I got a little bee in my bonnet. This whole thing has really, oh my. Anyway, so cut the car insurance if you're not going to work. You guys can share a car. There's no reason why you need 2 cars if there's 2 people at home now. Cut it back to 1. Number 10, clothes for kids if they're starting to outgrow their clothes. Ask for hand-me-downs. Our neighbors were all out in the cul-de-sac. We're all playing basketball. We're all playing frisbee. We're all sitting there chatting with each other. We aren't real concerned about it. But if the thrift stores are closed now, a lot of the clothing stores are closed now. Don't just go online and buy your kid a pair of pants. Ask your neighbors, ask your friends, ask your family if you can have hand-me-downs for your kids who are outgrowing things. If you're really concerned about it, wear your mask, wear your gloves, and throw them in the washer as soon as you get home. That'll take care of anything. But ask for hand-me-downs, guys. People are more than happy. They can't take their stuff to the thrift store. They want to get it out of their house. That is a perfectly logical way to do it. Number 11, which is a bonus that might came up after I finished my list. Cut all your auto bills. Meaning, do you have...
Well, check your auto bills because you might not even know what they are.
Yeah.
Wait, what she means, the auto billing. The things that automatically bill to your account that you forgot you signed up for 4 years ago and you've been paying $69
Exactly.
a month.
Check your credit cards and make sure that everything on there is something that you're using right now. If it's an auto pay, auto bill, whatever you want to call it. You know, like we have, 150 domain names that we have captured in case we ever need them. Those are on auto bill so that if we ever need them. But, you know, if we were desperate for money, we would probably cancel several of those, sell them, that type of thing. So look for your auto pay. Look and make sure that the things that are on there, make sure you're not getting razor blades and you've got a whole cabinet full of razor blades that you don't need.
Well, a lot of people don't even know. If you don't look at your statements every now and then, you wouldn't know if somebody started posting stuff. Like we had our credit card start showing a whole bunch of Xbox charges, and if I hadn't been looking at it regularly, it might have taken me a couple months to notice. So you want to make sure those were all not legit. But you need to always be looking at it to make sure that you'll save a lot of money by making sure you question all your charges.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize it, I usually Google it first before I complain about it because it might be something I actually did.
Yeah. So that's 11 ways you can cut right now. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about kind of what's going on and what you can do if you're stuck at home, because you're like, well, what am I supposed to do if I don't have Netflix? What am I supposed to do if I don't have blah, blah, blah? Okay. Use this time to get your act together, people. If you're a working mom and you don't normally have time to clean the house or organize or whatever or plan meals, do it now. Make your life productive. Don't just sit around and do nothing all day long like play video games.
Are you talking to me?
The other thing is, if
Only on
you're
Sunday.
getting depressed, get your booty up and get dressed. We have a whole article on our website about this, but listen, get dressed and stop hanging around in your pajamas all day long. Get up, get dressed, make yourself productive. I will tell you, in the last, let's see, 35 years since I've been an adult or almost an adult, I think I have actually stayed in my pajamas all day long, like twice, even being chronically ill. I never, unless I am just so sick I can't get out of bed, I never stay in my pajamas, ever. Now, I may put on a pair of pants that are more comfy, like a lounge pair of pants with a nicer shirt or something, but I don't sit around in sweats with a ratty t-shirt all day long. I don't do it, because when you get dressed, it triggers yourself that you feel more productive. Even Mike, he's been working at home. He still wears button-down shirts every day. Why? Because it makes him feel like he's ready to work. Now, our lives haven't really changed that much because we're self-employed. Our business is at home, so our lives haven't really changed that much. But let's say Mike was laid off from his job. He would still be home and being dressed and getting stuff done. Projects around the house that don't cost a lot of money he would be working on.
It is a good time for projects that don't cost a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. So, get yourself up and get dressed, period. Now, the next third thing, oh, I can do this, right? I can do this.
I don't know what it is. So
The next thing, stop blaming everybody else for your predicament. I have been looking at news articles and stuff like that going on, trying to get ideas for shows, that kind of stuff, just curiosity too. It absolutely makes me livid. At the number of people who are blaming everybody else for their money problems and not themselves. They're blaming their landlord who shouldn't be charging them rent. Are you kidding me? Why is this the landlord's fault that you don't have a savings account to cover when you are laid off from your job? The company isn't giving sick pay. The company isn't giving severance. I saw this article about how Hobby Lobby just slammed all their workers and laid them off with no severance pay. Hobby Lobby doesn't owe those people anything. Not anything. Those people agreed to work for those terms. And this is a very biblical principle. And if you want it, go look it up. I can't remember where it's at. The one where they agree for the day at the beginning of the day. And oh God, I should have written it down. I can't remember where it's at. This is a very biblical principle. When you agree to work at a job, you are agreeing on those terms. And it is not your employer's responsibility to be covering your medical. It is not their responsibility to be paying you severance pay, especially when 90% of these people who are getting laid off are going to be able to claim unemployment, which is like, I don't know, half to 3/4. I can't remember what it is, but half to 3/4 of what they're getting anyway. Oh yeah, if you want to look it up, it's Matthew 20:20.
That's just chapter 20. It's like the first 16 verses.
Yeah. Oh, Matthew 20, verses 1 to 16. Okay. So then the next thing is they're blaming the president for all this hoo-ha. They're blaming China for all this hoo-ha. stop blaming everybody but you. And stop using negative language. I am so sick. I've had it up to here with people saying, in these uncertain times.
Oh, man.
In this crisis. Now, I'll be honest. I used that title as clickbait to get you to click on this video. I'm not going to deny it.
Actually.
But stop using in these uncertain times. In these unprecedented times. Stop it. We
Well,
have a virus going around. We're not going to all die. Yeah, maybe 0.5% of the people who get this will die. And that is horrible. And I'm not downplaying that at all. But out of the millions of people who get this, maybe 0.5% will die from it. Stop acting like your life has completely come to an end. 190 years ago, we survived this depression just fine. Was it fun? No. Our grandparents and great-grandparents pretty much have post-traumatic stress from dealing with it. I get it. It stinks. But you're gonna make it. But they did not go around blaming the president. They didn't go around blaming their employer. They didn't go around blaming China for the situation they were in. They pulled up their bootstraps, got to work, and figured out a solution. And it may mean that you lose your house or your apartment and you're living in your car. Well, be thankful you have your car to live in. Maybe you're going to have to go live with family members for a little while till you get back on your feet. Well, at least you've got a shelter over your head. But this victim mentality is absolutely ridiculous, and there is no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say on Tara's thing, to say, what was it you said, in these difficult times, in these trying times?
In these uncertain times.
The
in
news,
these unprecedented
the news
times.
said, I'm being in the drum on this again, but the news says that to keep you scared, so you'll keep watching, so their advertisers pay them, first of all. But what you say tells your brain how to think
and react.
So if you say, in these uncertain times, in these difficult times, you're basically starting out by telling yourself, this is a terrible situation, I'm never going to get it under control. And the thing is, even though, like I had seen some things talking about, like some people didn't survive the depression and stuff like that, and that's true. But the thing is, people focus on their own things instead of on, like right now, with the internet and with people talking about what's going on with the virus here and what's going on with the virus there, everyone's paying attention to what's happening somewhere else, not on their own lives. And the thing is, you should pay attention to your circumstance and what you can control and what you can change. Otherwise, you're creating a bigger problem for yourself.
And if you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, this isn't for you. But if you're a Christian, you are wrong in worrying about these things. And you are wrong for sitting and stewing over these things. That is wrong. We are to give our worries to the Lord. Now, Mom had me watch this David Jeremiah, which was really good because she knew I was going here today.
I'm just finding out, folks.
But he was saying, there's a difference between worry and concern. And here's the thing. It's okay to be concerned and to think, how am I going to fix this? What am I going to do next in this situation? Now, if there is absolutely nothing you can do, then the thing that you need to do is to pray and give it to God and ask Him to show you how He is going to work this out. But if there is something that you should be doing, you need to be out there doing it. And let me tell you, Somebody had posted a comment about people have the money to pay their rent and they're holding their money back. You're stealing from that landlord. You're stealing from them. And you're wrong. How would you like it if someone just flat out came into your house and stole something? Well, that's what you're doing when you're living in a place and you're not paying the rent. So here's the thing. This is going to be the last of my rant. No, it's not going to be the last of my rant. I'm going to go on, I'm sure. But here's the thing. You have got to pull up your bootstraps and stop worrying about every single little thing and start figuring out what you are going to do to help you and your family right now. And you need to have integrity while you are doing it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. One thing, Tara and I have been, and Jill especially, have been through a lot of difficult times. And
He's been unemployed twice.
And when I was unemployed, I never got severance.
And we never missed a mortgage payment.
There was unemployment once for a little while. But it was a very limited amount of unemployment for a limited duration. And what we realized through that, and the same thing with not being able to ask anyone to help us financially, really. Like, we had no family we could ask to help us financially. And the funny thing about that, it never really occurred to us to do that because we knew that wasn't a possibility. But we've come to realize that not having that as an option has made us much, much stronger now. So if you aren't prepared and you're kind of new around here, one thing that this is an opportunity for us to say, hey, use this to figure out ways that when times are better to kind of launch yourself when things aren't good. Because that's how we learned. We learned to first be really creative about fixing things ourselves and finding things for little or free. And actually, Tara was talking about that today. There's a place near us where they're demolishing a house, and they just had like an old farm sink on a big trash pile.
What you guys don't know is I have a thing for old sinks with drain boards because I grew up with one. Mom had one in our house, and we absolutely loved it. It was so convenient. So I've had like 3 or 4 of these, and because of different moves, I've had to get rid of them. And I really wanted one for a new potting bench for if we find the new house. So look what we found today for free. Can you guys see that? I hope they can see that. I hope. So I was going on my power walk today, and they had dumpsters out there. And I was like, oh, they're demolishing that house. So I went over and looked at the trash pile, and they had that in the trash pile. So I was like, Mike, let's go. So we got the pickup, put that in there, had some firewood that they had too, and picked it up, and I got it for free. You guys, you can do lots of things for free. You don't have to spend a lot of money. But here's the thing. You should always, 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 number one, pay your rent. And I'll tell you, I think it's absolutely slimy, the lowest of low, of these people who aren't paying their rent because they know their landlords can't evict them right now. That is just trash. I'm sorry, that is just trash. And to be that kind of a person, it's no wonder you can't get your finances under order. It's no wonder if you have that kind of an attitude, when you have the money to pay your rent and you're just not paying it because you know your landlord can't evict you right now, that is wrong. But I got news for you. That landlord is going to come after you. You're going to have to pay it eventually. And you're going to have a whole bunch of fines and court fees on top of that. So you're just blowing yourself in the foot by doing that. It's just your sheer stupidity because that landlord is going to come after you. Okay, I knew I wasn't done.
Actually, our son had a landlord who was the slumlord who was not like there was no heat in the house and no water sometimes and stuff like that, which is illegal. And even then, there was a requirement that he holds up his part of it.
He had no heat in the place that they weren't fixing, but he was
ended
still
up
legally liable.
He ended up moving out, and we told him, hey, the landlord's pretty much broken the lease by not providing what's required by law. And after he moved out, they said they wouldn't take the keys from him. And I told him, you better call a lawyer and find out what's up with that. And he called the lawyer, and they said, yeah, you can't just do that, even though it seems right, and even what they're doing is wrong. So in this situation, they're not necessarily even doing anything wrong, just unfortunate things happened. And it's kind of like there are a lot of things that when very unexpected things happen, nobody will cover that. Like if a war breaks out in the U.S. and your house gets blown up, insurance won't pay for it.
Yeah, Ellen says food, rent, transportation, and utilities. Yeah. I mean, I would change that around and say rent, then food, then transportation, then utilities, because quite frankly, most of us could lose a few pounds.
So the only real solution is to prepare.
Yeah.
Is to prepare.
And
when the times are good, then don't loosen up your belt unless you're very prepared for a problem in the future. Because we didn't for a long, long time.
Well, and here's the thing. Mom said, and she's right, Mom said this today. She said, this whole thing, she said, people are coming to us and we're getting emails and we're getting comments from people. Now what do I do about this? It's a little late now. I mean, I'm glad you're coming and trying to find solutions, but it's kind of like calling the fire department after the house has already burned down. It's not going to do you any good. If you have a car payment, if you have credit card debt, if you have student loans, your house is already on fire, burning to the ground if you cannot get this stuff paid off. And so until you get those things under order, I'm sorry guys, I'm having a really bad allergy day and my nose is just itching and itching and itching. But until you get those things under order, in order, and paid, you're never going to be able to get your finances ahead. And that's just the facts, whether you like it or not. So anyway, all right, give me questions.
And I was just going to say, of course, Tara has not, she's got a sort of a blunt way about her. But I can say, for those of you who are struggling with anxiety and worry and stuff, I totally understand where you are. Believe me, I of all people have had
Believe me, he's telling you the truth.
Monumental anxiety and worry issues. And I felt like it was helpless, and I didn't want to believe that was anything I could control. But I realized after Jesus, thankfully, and a lot of counseling, that I was able to control it. Now, I'm not saying I never do it anymore. It still comes on, but I would say 90% of it has gone from what the counselors told me to do, and kind of listening and all that, which was identifying things like don't pay attention to things you can't control. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, you could die. What's the more likely scenario that would happen? You'll be really sick and then you won't. I mean, I'm not saying coronavirus, I know that has a whole lot more levels to it with other people and all that, but I'm just saying in your own life it can be controlled. It's just difficult. And I'm not disagreeing that it's difficult, but what I'm saying is you may have to go through a very difficult time of learning how to control it so that you'll have a lot of years of much less worry and anxiety. And I would strongly recommend that, because most people continue to do it all along and try to just avoid everything, and that just makes your life worse in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and I did a thing, and I think it was Alice
never
that
read
said,
the news.
Yeah, Alice said thank you. There's a thing that my counselor a few years back taught me to do, and it's called tapping. And look it up. It's called EFT or tapping. Tapping Solutions is a good one, Brad Yates. Now, some of these people can get a little woo-woo. If you're a Christian, they're a little new agey. And I don't like that. But what I do is I follow what their steps are. And I just use God. Instead of the universe, I say God. You know, I change it so that it means to me what my beliefs are. But what it is it's changing the way your mind is triggered all the time. So when you're always triggered with anxiety and you always go to eat, you can change that trigger in your mind so that when you have anxiety, you don't necessarily go reach for the Cheetos. Because Jennifer said, I've been eating like an athlete without the athletics. That's so true. But anyway.
Ooh, Jennifer said something else brilliant. Anxiety is such a heavy weight. For me, I found it has to do with my desire to control things. Being prepared also helps me.
Yeah.
One thing about anxiety, if you've never really given it much thought or had any improvement and you really struggle with it greatly, one of the problems with anxiety is it's usually triggered by some experience you've had sometime in your life. But it's an attempt to predict problems that haven't yet happened and respond to them as if they're already happening or preventing them from happening. And so what ends up happening is if a problem actually happens to you, it causes a certain amount of angst or anguish. But when you're anxious, you think of 20 possible outcomes that you think it might be. This isn't in your conscious mind. This is just what's going on in the background. But you think of 20 possible outcomes you think it might be, and then you try to solve all those problems before they happen. And the problem is that's much worse. Almost always that's much worse.
You're trying to solve something that may not even happen.
It's much worse than dealing with the one problem that actually happens. And that one problem may not even happen at all. And that's the thing that it's hard. Like at times, one thing about anxiety is there's so many things that can make you feel like it's justified. Mm-hmm. Like right now you can say, well, with the virus and everything, we've got to know what's happening. But you do need to know that you need to wash your hands. Stay away from other people. Stay home if that's... basically, you need to take some basic precautions. But you don't need to know about every person who's died in other states where you don't know anybody. You don't need to know every possible worst case scenario thing that might happen to everyone. And when people watch the news and spend a lot of time on social media focusing on those things, they think about all the elements of it that probably will never affect them and that they have no control over. And if you have no control over it, then worrying has no outlet. Like if you're in a situation where, a tiger's coming after you, you know right now, I have to absolutely do something to get away from this tiger. But if you think something might come after you, but there's no hint of anything anywhere, you're just kind of creating your own pain. And the thing is, it's people that do it, it's in the background mostly, and so it's easy to think I have no control, but you do. And I'll tell you what, I used to be terrified of bees. And when Tara and I were dating, we went to a botanical garden because she loves botanical gardens. And there were bees everywhere. And I was completely freaked out, and I was running and ducking and screaming, and this was a long time ago, guys. And at the time, she said, stop that, you're acting like a lunatic or whatever. And I was thinking, I was so angry, like, you need to understand this. You need to work around understanding this is my problem.
Like, what is wrong with you?
You need to understand this is my problem, and you need to help me avoid my problem. And she wasn't having that. And I was upset at the time. But what I've since...
your problem, and you have to deal with it.
Well, and what I've since then realized is if other people gather around you to kind of help you avoid your problem, they're making your problem worse. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a blessing that Tara didn't do that. And later on, probably 3-4 years later, we were out working in the garden at our house together, and I wasn't afraid of bees at all until someone who was very afraid came and was pointing every bee out to me and how they were all flying around me. But I realized then how the power of your mind to create catastrophes when a catastrophe hasn't actually happened. And what's funny also, years later, I got stung by a wasp, which I hate even worse than bees. And it didn't occur to me what it was for about a minute because it started to burn more. And then I realized, man, the pain of that little sting was a whole lot less than everything I had done to myself preparing for the possibility of not getting stung again. So.
Yeah. And it's a different thing. Mike is not allergic to bee stings. This is where concern versus worry goes, okay? You need to be concerned about bees if you are actually allergic to bees and you may die from a bee sting. That is one thing. But when you are worrying over bees and you're not allergic to them, that is a problem. It's the same thing right now. Lots and lots of people are getting sick. But you aren't sick right now. Now, if you have an illness, diabetes or whatever, where they say you're at high risk, then you need to be concerned about washing your hands, not being around people, not going out, that kind of thing. But for the majority of people who get this who are healthy, it's a really miserable flu type thing, but you will get over it. I know 3 people, one of our children included, who have not been tested but have had every single symptom as they have lined out how it's been working. We're pretty sure that they've had it since January. One of them was a friend that was on a cruise, and she got sick right after she got back from her cruise in January. Probably everybody in the country is going to have this within just a few months. Be careful if you have an illness, but don't make yourself sicker worrying over it. It's not going to do. Why should you worry twice over it when you're worrying and when you're not sick? And then if it happens, okay, then you got to worry again when you shouldn't be. Thank you. You shouldn't be putting yourself under that much stress. I mean, just
and
get together, people.
And I'm gonna say a kind thing here on that is if you've been overwhelmed with anxiety and worry for a very long time, you can't just turn it off all at once. So I would suggest if you can think of ways to entertain yourself doing kind of fun things, physical things, or just anything that takes your mind away from that problem, I would suggest that would be a way to help, even if you can't totally change that mindset. Because the thing is, I have to say, I have come through it. I still get it sometimes, and it's really hard to control. And I've learned things I can do, like I have a certain music playlist that I really like. And so it still happens sometimes, and I have to have kind of a triage plan for myself if that happens.
You have a choice how you handle it.
But in the long term, it is controllable. So if you're having the problem now, I would think I'm not telling you should try to change overnight. And you don't have to change if you don't want to. I just found it a miserable place to be living all the time. What might be helpful is to figure out what's one step I can take in that direction now of learning how to not. And you could probably Google how to stop worrying or how to deal with anxiety. And I think you'd find a lot of useful stuff.
And I will say, as Christians, we have Jesus to help us so that we can give our problems to him. And if you're not a Christian, then you're not going to have that help. And I understand that it's harder, but you have a choice. And you have a choice on how you deal with it, and you have a choice with how you react. You know, you have a choice how much you tell your kids. I heard about someone whose kid was talking about coronavirus, and they're like 4 years old. And Mom and I were both like, why does this kid even know anything about it? We never told our kids.
And that's why they're not afraid of anything. They're not afraid of anything now, and that's why. Because we tried to protect them from things they couldn't control. I mean, if war was coming and our house was about to get blown up, they would need to know that. But other than that, they don't need to know scary catastrophe things.
Yeah, I mean...
And you should protect yourself as much as possible. Beth said it. She said, turned off all media and focused on getting my early vegetable garden going. Perfect example.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant way of handling a difficult situation because most of the stuff the media is talking about, you do need to know, like I said, washing your hands and staying away from other people mostly. But most of the other stuff they're saying is not necessary for virtually anyone to know.
Yeah.
Except the people that are in charge of solving the problem. And partly Jennifer mentioned that her anxiety is from trying to control things. Everyone's anxiety is from trying to control things because normally you've had some kind of a situation in the past and your brain processed that as a very scary, dangerous situation. And its reaction is, how can I prevent this from ever happening again? And unfortunately, you can't prevent. Like, everything is out of our control. So you have to be able to figure out, how can I reconcile that in my life, that I may not be able to control it. And sometimes bad things will happen.
Yeah, and what's the next thing that you can do? You know, if it's pray, if that's all you can do, then pray and read your Bible. Give it to God if you're a Christian. But, you know, what's the next thing you can do is always the best step, I think. And what made me think of that, was it Terry maybe? Let me see over here. Yeah, Terry said, when is the next cookbook coming out? So for us, we could be completely overwhelmed with anxiety. Well, some of us are, but we're dealing with it. But
what are you talking about?
We could be completely
overwhelmed.
Paralyzed. Well, that's to be debatable. But we could be completely paralyzed with some of the things that have been going on with our business the last several months. And I mean, it has been one thing after another with our business. We were supposed to have books out in December. It didn't work. In September, it didn't work. And then we tried for December and it didn't work. And then we tried for March and it didn't work. And then we tried for April 1st and it didn't work. And so now we're hoping to send dining at least next week. But now with this whole virus thing, we have no idea if we'll be able to get books. This is our livelihood. Our website was completely down today. We didn't know it until I went to go do some stuff.
Oh, that's what you mean. But that was a real problem that was actually happening.
I know, but you just got to do the next thing.
I know.
And so our website is our livelihood. If we can't get books and if our website is up, we're out of a job too. And so the thing is, when you're in those situations, think about, okay, what is the next step I can do? And do the next step and keep doing the next step. If your house is a pit because you're a hoarder, you need to say to yourself, what is the next step I can do? Okay, I can clear off my kitchen table. All right, got my kitchen table. Oh no, my kitchen table is so piled, I can't even find a corner. You start with one corner. I got this 2 by 2 foot section cleared on my kitchen table. All right, tomorrow I'm doing the next 2. But do the next step. And I have no idea why we went through all that, but whatever. Maybe it'll help somebody.
A couple of people talking about bees. Kathleen, I too welcome bees. I just carry an EpiPen. That's kind of a good idea because the idea is...
it's the step that you need to do.
There's a certain amount of protecting yourself from a problem that you know you have, and you should. But if you can find a way to kind of liberate yourself in a sense, like in that case, it's not likely that she would have the problem, but she's got a plan. And that's, I think, really good. So...
yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of people are stressed out over homeschooling their kids. Guys, if you mess up homeschooling for the next 6 weeks of school, your kid is not going to flunk the rest of their life. You've got 6 months until school starts again. Take a deep breath. Do what you can. Focus on math, spelling, handwriting, maybe a little bit of English and history every now and then if you can get it thrown in there. But don't stress yourself out. Jack's doing his homeschooling. He's flunking a couple of classes. And at this point, I'm just kind of like, whatever. You know what? I mean, he's not going to end up being homeless because he missed 2 months of school. So
Linda says, I think, too, limiting how much news you watch, that sets anxiety off big time. Stay informed. A 15-minute news bulletin informs you news on all day, and I've had a headache.
yeah.
I found I will go to one place. I'll look at 5 headlines. I figure if it's life and death, it'll be one of the top 5. I won't read the stories. I mean, if it were to say something like super amazing, super crazy, that I thought I really needed to know, then I might read the story, but I generally don't. Because it's the only way I can keep myself from getting sucked into the bad. And actually, Julie and Becky both had some brilliant thoughts. Julie said, maybe when we get back to whatever normal is, we'll all appreciate all the things we took for granted. Yes, I do hope that that is something that people take away. But Becky said, my grandson was missing his church preschool. He didn't understand why he couldn't go to school. His mother told him the world is sick right now, and he said, oh, okay. And that was it. Then he started singing his little church songs, she said. That's the thing.
That's it. You don't need to do an elaborate explanation. Just say, we're not able to do it because a lot of people are sick right now, and so we can't go to church.
Basically, I wouldn't say anything unless
That's
they
it.
realize there's some kind of problem in their lives that they are wondering about, and then give them the least necessary explanation because they can't control it. And
Well, and so what if we don't go back to normal? That's very possible. We may not go back to normal. Okay, so this is the new normal. Well, what are you going to do to make your new normal livable and survivable for you and your family?
Uh-oh. There's a discussion of whether it's worse on you or me for me to be home.
Me. There's no hesitation.
Bandana Grandma's on, by the way. She's been on for quite a while.
Hello, Susie. Hello, hello.
Yeah, Amy says there are plenty of daily online services. If praying and singing to the Lord brings you comfort, do it instead of weekly now. Why not? You have extra time to kill, so raise yourself up more. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Mom has this to say for Christians. That's a good comment. Go back to your mother-in-law. I know you try to ignore her, but go back to your
Oh,
mother-in-law.
I didn't even see it.
I think it was the other direction.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mom said, so for Christians, how would you feel if your child didn't believe or trust you to take care of them and always lived in fear? That is the way we make God feel when we don't believe or trust him as a father. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, Mother. Jill Cooper, if you need to quote her.
One thing, though, as much as people are talking about new normal and all that, I think most likely, I think people will have a different attitude after having been stuck away for a couple months. But I think a lot of things will return to kind of where they were. So mainly we have to think, especially if you're anxiety prone, this is probably mostly a temporary circumstance, even though it seems really bad to some people now.
And if everything crashes, well, then we'll figure it out when we get there.
Shannon says, I seriously think this all is a blessing, bringing a lot of people to reality. True, but what I noticed that I think is kind of a positive about it, and we should take advantage of the positives. I mean, yes, there are negatives, and we know those are there, but we should think about what are the positives out of this. We're really enjoying the fact that it's quiet. We go on a walk, and it's quiet.
Yep.
Somebody said, what was it? Somebody else was, I've noticed, we didn't see very many people out, but on the weekend, people were out in their own yards, and they were out actually playing with their kids. Our kids, they're often off in different places because they're different ages and different things going on with them. And like Jack will be at school, she was right on the verge of moving out. All 3 of the ones that are home now, they're hanging out together every day in a way that they weren't doing before. We were seeing families out in the yards and playing and stuff together, and I just think, in a sense, those are positives. I know the whole situation isn't that great, but it's nice to see the positive things in the negative.
Well, and there are a lot of places hiring. And so, so maybe you got laid off from your job, but you don't have enough money. Well, go Walmart, Target, CVS, Costco, all these different restaurants are hiring because now they're doing delivery stuff and now they're doing warehouse restocking and Amazon and all this kind of stuff. So there are places that are hiring. Now, it may not be as much money as you want or what you were used to, but I'll be honest, I'm kind of sick of hearing about people hollering about all these layoffs when they're turning around and applying for unemployment and they get to be home on a vacation not working for a few months while they're drawing an unemployment check. I know it's not as much, but you got to look at the bright side and get some stuff done around your house until you get your job back or you find another job. So anyway, somebody asked, and I missed the name, if we got our YouTube plaque. We never did get it.
Yeah, they say, well, we tell you if we're going to give you one or not. I'm like, okay.
And we never got it.
So
that's it. We're done with YouTube.
Nancy, I'm enjoying less noise, more bird sounds. My son moved out of state. That was hard, but my husband and I have drawn closer. You married his teens. He's my rock, and we're alone finally. Yes. Our son moved away last year. Well, not far away. He only lives in a city that's 40 minutes from here. But we didn't see him that much before this because he's at that age where, I escaped from mom and dad. Now I'm doing my own thing. So we still talk to him a lot, but we don't see him that much. So it didn't change things that much between us and him. But everybody else, all the rest of the family's here. So
Suzanne says, the thing is, Tara, people can't survive on unemployment because of the debt. It's hopefully people will learn. I know. It's your own darn tootin' fault.
Well, and
if you're in hock up to your eyeballs, that is your own fault, and you need to figure it out and figure out how you're going to fix it.
But if you walk away from it and you learn, and it puts you in a much better position in the future, it might have been a good experience for you in the end. So, because we had some rough things that even some things we tried to do right, we still messed up and learned from them as well. Yeah. Like putting Ellie's hospital bill on the credit card. That was a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. This is the most my pantry has ever been stocked in my life. I'm going to gain 10 pounds. Yay! Well, not on the 10 pounds, but that you're stocked.
You should put it in
well
a separate...
the last 2 weeks.
I would say if you get a lot of extra, especially if it's tempting you, put it in a different room, like in a closet that you don't go into very often.
Yeah. Actually, you know what kind of hacks me off? We have to pay unemployment, but we can't claim it. So here all these people are getting unemployment. We could be sitting pretty.
If our business goes under, I can't be laid off or claim on that. So, but thankfully that doesn't seem to be an issue for us.
That's all right. We're going forward. Okay, so on the new books, here's the thing. Dining on a Dime cookbook. We will probably be sold out by mid to late May at the rate that we are selling them. Our book sales have, let's see, what percentage of that is? Let's see. Our book sales have gone up 80% in the last 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I'm doing my math right. What's 10 minus 2? 80, yeah. 80% is our book sales have gone up in the last 2 weeks, which is great, wonderful. But my whole point in that is if you're needing a book before August or September, then this week and then next week we're going to have a Mother's Day sale. They will probably be close to gone. We're thinking by early to mid to late, by May, sometime in May probably, depending on how our Mother's Day sale goes. Susan says she loves me. Oh no, she loves my top.
She loves your top. Well,
she doesn't love me. She loves my top. Thank you. I paid $2.50 for this one.
Lynn, you're absolutely right. She says, choosing to be productive and don't want to look back later and asking myself if I squandered the time. One thing, a lot of people go to work all the time and say it's such a grind. They just wish I didn't have to do this. I wish I didn't have to do this. And now they're home. And there were a number of years, probably about 10 years ago, actually, we were working on a new book. And I was always saying that. And Tara and the kids went out of town. And I worked real hard on the book for like 10 days. and well, maybe 7 days. And they came back, and I realized, man, I wish I had taken a little of that time to do something that I said I would do. So if you're home all this time and you're always wanting to be home, do those things while you're home, because it's not going to last that long, and you'll be back at work again wishing that you were home.
Yep.
So
okay, so back to what I was saying, and I got off track. Dining on a Dime is headed to the printer hopefully next week. This is volume 1, the current edition that we have. Dining on a Dime 2, we are hoping now mid-May to get to the printer, which would mean September before we got it. And then gluten-free, dairy-free is probably going to be October before, if we do a print version. I'm not sure if I'm doing a print version of that. All of these will have the ebook version right away. And probably if you order the book, we'll send you the ebook version so you to be looking at it and using it while they are coming back from the printer. But last time, we had a nightmare from people who did not read the little box that they checked before they could order saying that we would ship in January. And we started getting email after email. Well, I ordered this. Where's my book? So we're trying to decide if we're going to do pre-orders or not, but we'll see.
Sally, praying for all the healthcare workers out there. My daughter's an RN working on the front lines. Yes, those people are amazing. I think we should pray definitely for all the workers. And it's funny because it occurred to me, even though we don't know anybody who we know to be sick with it, we should still be praying for all those people that are suffering. So, yay. All right. Let's see. Anything else?
Did Jennifer say she slips shiplapping the bathroom?
What does that mean?
Jennifer, note to self, learn how to shiplap the bathroom.
What is shiplap?
Jennifer, don't put shiplap in the bathroom. Take it from me. I put up wainscoting, and it's been the biggest nightmare.
Is that like the stuff in
Yeah, don't put up shiplap. It'll be a mess to clean.
So, is it cleaning that's made it a nightmare?
Yeah.
Because of the texture.
It's a mess. Well, it was a pain. It was a nightmare to put it up, too. Because somebody wouldn't listen to me, but we won't go there right now because we are in our happy, positive place, and that was 5 years ago. So we're letting it go. Let it go. Let it go. We don't need the bathroom remodel memories anymore.
That didn't seem as bad as I thought, so.
Yeah.
Maybe memory makes things fade.
He never remembers things as bad as they were.
But you remember, but we still do more of them anyway.
Like the sink that's sitting in the truck?
I'm telling you. I might forget how bad it was, but...
I know. I just keep torturing myself anyway.
Yes, Breezy. Tara gave me a haircut, so...
Yeah.
She asked if I got a new haircut. Don't you like it?
Yes. He sleeps with his stylist.
What?
So, alright guys, please like, subscribe, and share. Please visit us at livingonadime.com. Check out the rest of our YouTube channels. We have thousands and thousands of free videos and free articles on our website and free videos on YouTube. Check them out. They will help you save money right now in a crisis. We even have an article on what to do when you're laid off. And
how about Ellie's
we're going to go out to eat.
How about Ellie's thing?
Oh, yeah. goatmilkgifts.com. Ellie has goat milk cream and soap currently on sale for spring 15. But she cannot get the ingredients for goat milk cream because they're sending it to hospitals. So if you want some goat milk cream, you better grab it because I don't know when she's going to get the ingredients back for that. But she does have goat milk soap in so your hands don't dry out. Ruth says, I just want to say you're both looking pretty trim these days. Oh, are we? Well, thank you. The scale's not agreeing with us. Actually, I'm pretty frustrated because I've been
Ruth
really...
Is right. I think the scale is
I think we need new batteries.
It's the batteries.
Because I've been doing my power walk and I've been watching what I eat and I'm not losing. Of course, I have low testosterone, so that's part of my problem. But it still is frustrating because I'm like, I want to let it go.
Yep.
All right, guys.
Somebody earlier had asked about
what?
Quick ideas for kids' Easter baskets since they can't go to the store.
Oh, have mercy. Go to our website, Living on a Dime. We have those suggestions for you. If you are looking for Easter suggestions, go there because all of your food and everything is gonna be crazy. Yeah, some of our restaurants are open for takeout, and I had a rough day today, and Mike said, well, maybe we should go get tacos. And I said, well, if you want to go to town, fine, but I don't want to go to town. So he said, well, I'll go to town.
We drive up with the mask on, they hand us the goods, we leave.
Yeah, you feel like you're a bank robber or something because they just throw it at you out the window. But
We haven't
just
been...
so you know that I'm not a hypocrite, we are completely 100% debt-free. So if we feel like eating out every now and then, we do. All right, guys.
4 times a year.
Yeah, 4 times a year. livingonadime.com.
Bye.
Bye.